2009B AP Macro FRQ number 1. This one is a little sloppy because there's things I'd like to show you. Let's start. 1, the unemployment rate in the country of Southland is greater than the natural rate of unemployment. Recognize that when your actual unemployment rate is greater than the natural rate, we have to be in a recession. Some of this is just understanding the language of what the College Board is asking you to figure out, I guess. If our actual unemployment rate, this would be our natural rate of unemployment right here. That is your natural rate or full employment right there on that line, right? But we obviously have output has decreased. We have a higher unemployment rate than the natural rate. So we would say that we are in a recession. I think this is PLC and YC. All right. The president is receiving advice from 2 economic advisors, Cogeles and Raymond, on how to best reduce unemployment in Southland. Cogeles advises the president to decrease personal income taxes. How would such a decrease in taxes affect aggregate demand? So anytime we're talking about a reduction in taxes, I always like to talk about disposable income in my explanation. When taxes go down, do people have more money if they pay less taxes? Yes, they do, right? So they'll have more disposable income. Disposable income goes up. That means consumption's going to go up, and consumption is a determinant of aggregate demand, right? So aggregate demand would also go up. Easy enough. Don't write it out with arrows. Obviously, write it out. Doesn't have to be in a full sentence, but just make sure it's clear and it's written out well. Using a correctly labeled graph of the short-run Phillips curve, show the effect of a decrease in taxes. Label the initial equilibrium point from point A and then a new equilibrium to point B. So I'm just going to do it right here because I'd like to draw this so we can, and I am going to put a long-run aggregate supply curve here because not supply curve, long-run Phillips curve there. So we can make sure that we recognize that what's going on in your aggregate demand curve, aggregate supply curve, is going on in your Phillips curve here. Short-run Phillips curve, inflation on the vertical, unemployment on the horizontal. So recognize that. Let's see if I can move that a little bit different. I'm going to move. That didn't work. There we go. I'm going to move that right there. All right. And I'm not going to worry about that little line. Who cares? Recognize that this is our natural rate of unemployment. This also represents full employment, right? Recognize that this is our natural rate of unemployment. It represents full employment right there. Those are the same places on each curve at equilibrium. Now, here's our recession. We can see that the price level has gone down. We can see that output has also gone down. You can see that. That implies that unemployment had to go up. So understand that the price level and inflation are really the same thing. So we need to show our price level going down and unemployment going up. That is just a movement down the curve. So you can see, tick, 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 straight across, that anytime aggregate demand decreases, it's a movement down your short-run Phillips curve. Understand that, recognize that we don't leave the curve. We stay on the short-run Phillips curve. Aggregate demand goes down. Price level went down, we can see, or inflation went down. And we can see that unemployment increased. That is a recession right there. All right, good enough. Oh, let's label it. Decrease in taxes, and they wanted to show it on the Phillips curve. So this would have been where we were at A in a recession, and then after they decreased taxes, we'd move back up to B. And you really didn't have to use a long-run Phillips curve. I just wanted to show you where that natural rate of unemployment was. You could have just used a short run and shown us moving up the curve from A to B. All right. And that obviously implies that aggregate demand must have been pushed back toward full employment. All right, let's do C. Raymond advises the president to take no policy action. Now, this, anytime you see no fiscal, no monetary policy actions, you know we're thinking about the classical sort of view of what's going to happen in the long run. In the long run, wages and prices are flexible. So I want to do two things here. I'm going to redraw our recession, and I want to show how that affects. And I'm taking a little bit more time here, but I think it's important for us to recognize these classical, there's a lot of these classical view questions, and we really, if we can get it in our head exactly what's moving and how to answer it, we're in pretty good shape. Oh, I did it again, didn't I? I wrote long run aggregate supply. Long run Phillips curve, short run Phillips curve. Remember, inflation on the vertical, unemployment on the horizontal. All right. So we know we're in a recession here. So let's just put that in. We are at a recession. We've moved down our short run Phillips curve. Raymond advises the president to take no policy action. Now, we answered these kinds of questions for aggregate demand and aggregate supply in the same way every time. Classical view thinks wages and prices are flexible. So if we're in a recession, what was this? Price level C, YC. This is YF, or full employment. The classical view thinks wages are prices. Let me ask you a question. If we're in a recession, do you think people will take lower wages to go back to work? Now, if you said anything other than yes, I want you to think about that. You have no job, you have nothing to eat. Will you take a lower wage to go back to work? Obviously, you will. Wages will go down. Prices will go down. We could be specific and say input prices will go down, but I tend to just like it as wages and prices will go down. And you have to talk about both of these. Remember, classical view thinks wages and prices are flexible. They will change. They will decrease here. Input prices specifically. So your short run aggregate supply curve, if wages go down, short run aggregate supply curve shifts to the right. It'll go right through there. What we understand is that your short run aggregate supply curve, if costs to businesses decrease, they will produce more of a good. So if costs to businesses go down, that's what shifts your short run aggregate supply. Wages are definitely a cost to business. They are going down. So businesses will, their short run aggregate supply curve will shift to the right. We can see that prices will fall and output will increase as prices go back, and will return back to long run equilibrium to long run equal. You could say full employment here also. We return back to long run equilibrium or full employment at a lower price level. Now, you cannot make this any shorter. Please do not try. You need to know that wages and prices fell. Short run aggregate supply curve shift to the right. We return back to long run equilibrium at a lower price level. This is the same answer for every recession, and there is no policy action, no monetary, no fiscal. What happens in the long run? Wages and prices fall. Short run aggregate supply curve shifts to the right. We return to long run equilibrium at a lower price level. You need to say all of that. How does that affect our Phillips curve? Using a new label graph of the short run Phillips curve, show the change in what would happen here. Well, the way we say it is that if your short run aggregate supply curve shifts to the right, it is a leftward shift of your short run Phillips curve. But recognize what happened here. Price level went back down, output went up, right? Which means that unemployment must have gone down. When price level goes down, we need to show inflation going down and unemployment going down at the same time. The only way to get price level or inflation and unemployment to go down is to shift your short run Phillips curve to the left. Now, recognize that that's all they wanted you to do to answer this question. was to shift that short run Phillips curve and show it to the left. I'm going a little bit step further because I want to show you going back to full employment. And if we think about this, originally we started at full employment here. Tick, 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 straight across. Then we slid into a recession. Then there's no fiscal or monetary policy actions. So wages and prices fall. We have a new lower price level. And we're back to full employment, our natural rate of unemployment. So this is a classical view thing going on with the Phillips curve, and obviously it has to be going on with aggregate demand. Full employment to recession, back to full employment at a lower price level. Full employment to recession, back to full employment at a lower price level. All right, guys, be safe. Take care. Bye.